What's up, everybody? Teldo here, and today I want to be talking about some of the discussion that has been going on in the subreddit and in the Battlerite community lately in general. People have been talking about Doomsday and how this game is 100% going to fail because it has some inherent problems, and I just cannot agree with it at all. I can see where they're coming from to some extent, though, because yes, the player base has been going down, and it is problematic in a PvP game when the player base is smaller because then you will have a harder time finding matches and everything, and it just kind of sucks, right? But the reason why it's going down, and you can expect that trend from pretty much any early access game, you can watch that on other games as well. People don't really want to buy into early access as much after the initial release. There was always going to be a drop of players because this game already has been announced to go free to play early next year, and people are of course going to wait for that, and there's going to be a big marketing push for that when it happens, and the player base is just going to explode at that point. And I think that is something that will already single-handedly fix tons of issues this game has, primarily the matchmaking issues. I think those are the biggest concerns everybody has. Of course, the matchmaking itself, the system itself, has some issues right now, but having more players in the pool already fixes a lot of the issues, right? But yeah, Sunlock already mentioned that they're working on better solutions for the matchmaking system, and that will fix a lot of issues. So I'm not too worried about any of that. I think a lot of the issues will be resolved there. Then people have been talking about this game just having those inherent mechanical issues because people love to compare this to BLC back in the day. And yes, BLC was a lot more. I don't even want to say a lot more mechanical. It was more mechanical, for sure. But it doesn't mean that Battlerite is really shallow mechanically, because that's what people are like. People are exaggerating. People are acting like this game is easy mechanically, but it's anything but that. People are acting like, and I've read it in the subreddit as well, that people are saying, yeah, people have capped out. They have to reach their skill cap. That's why they're getting burned out. But man, I could not disagree more with that. People have definitely not reached the skill cap. Nobody has done that, not even close. I mean, I'm a grade 15 player and I play against some of the best players in Europe, and I see tons of mistakes being made across the board on everybody, including myself. And I see how I can improve those mistakes, right? I can see how I can improve on a lot of the things that are being done wrong, but it's just hard, you know? We're getting to the, like, some people are getting to the point where it's getting harder and harder to improve, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, at some point you will reach that limit where you will have to really actively work hard on trying to improve, where you have to analyze what you're doing wrong and just really focus hard on trying to fix those issues. And I think that's where people are at, if anything, right? That they just have to work a little bit harder to figure out what they're doing wrong. Like, everybody has like this their own personal cap at some point, their own personal barrier that they have to overcome, and stuff like this happens all the time. I wanted to make a video about that, talking about that in general, but like there were like multiple phases for me where in the start I didn't really use my EX abilities very often, and then I started focusing on using one EX ability at a time and just got a lot better at that. Then once I got good at that, once I got down the mechanics down a little bit better, I focused on my R in particular a lot because the toxin blades are not being used that often really, and I thought they were highly situational, but I found a lot of situations where I could use them, and just it made my play overall way better. And then I started canceling my camouflage attacks a lot more often, like getting used to canceling really fast whenever something goes wrong. And those are just those milestones that you reach to get to the next level every time. And right now I am at a point where I don't really have a really easy, clear thing that I can pinpoint where I can say, yes, I have to focus hard on that, besides maybe trying out different builds and trying out different playstyles and learning how to deal with specific matchups and all that. It's just getting harder and harder to get better. Doesn't mean the game is shallow, though. On the subreddit, there has been a new video released by Daniel just recently, talking about how this game should be a little bit more like a MOBA. How characters in this game have no real clear weaknesses. He's talking about how everybody can do everything to some extent, like Lucy has her dodge roll, Lucy has her barrier, Lucy has her CC, and then at the same time, a character like Sirius also has an escape and has a CC. Oops, wrong button. Has a CC as well. And every character who does not have those things, he argues, are not viable. And he wants people to be designed in a way that they have clear weaknesses. Like Rook, for example, was like that. Honestly, Rook was like that before he got changed. He had no iframes. Right now he can jump into the air for iframes to avoid damage, and that helps him tremendously. But before that, he was reliant on his teammates, and he, from my understanding, wants the game to be more like that. So it's more about just synergizing with your teammates and just building a good comp and just doing cool stuff together, because the game apparently is not mechanical enough to be designed like a fighting game where everybody's self-sufficient. But I don't really agree with that, because this game is currently only 2 versus 2 and 3 versus 3. If you would design it in a way that you only have that you have specific weaknesses and strengths with each character, that would limit the game and break it completely, I think. Because a character like Rook, before the patch, he was not really strong, right? Like he had some clear strengths and some clear weaknesses, but he was only really viable technically with maybe something like Paloma and Lucy, because whenever he got ulted by a Croak, for example, he had no way of avoiding the damage. And that's so much damage he would take, and there were tons of things like that where he would just die if nobody really could save him. So another side or a barrier from Lucy would save him from that. And that basically just narrows down his viability to a couple of champions right now. And why, like, I don't see how that would be any fun if there would be like really clear choices for every champion to be played with another champion, because this game is focused on 2v2 and 3v3. You don't have 5 people on a MOBA map with really different faces across the match, where just different stuff happens all the time and the game evolves in different ways, where you can go for a poke comp, or you can even go for a comp that doesn't fight really, where you just go for split pushes or whatever. You can't do that in this game. If you would design it in a way that people have clear weaknesses, this game would break. It would be horrible. I'm almost like, I'm certain of it, you know, like it wouldn't work, man. If anything, the game should be more mechanical. I can agree with that to some extent, but people have to watch out, like the devs have to watch out on how they make the game more mechanical. Because right now the game is pretty mechanical already, and it's partly because of really cool stuff like EX abilities, right? Rook is maybe not the best example for this, but let's go to Croak, because I'm most comfortable with Croak. You can just play aggressively all the time and use your normal abilities and deal a lot of damage that way, and you don't really have to worry about your EX abilities whatsoever if you're just starting out. Man, the first 30 hours or so, I barely use my EX abilities at all. I use them here and there sometimes, but it took me a really long time before I started using EX abilities. Was I at a disadvantage? Yes, a little bit, but not really, because EX abilities are wonderful design. They are optional. You don't have to use them. They share the same cooldowns with your normal abilities. It's not like it's something extra that you have to use to be really viable. And you also have to spend resources on that. So you can either use your ultimate a lot, which is very powerful in some situations, or you can use your EX abilities a lot. The thing is, once you get really good at the game, you will realize which of the abilities are really good. You will realize, okay, here in this situation, the Deceit is really good. Maybe Toxin plays to deal some extra damage to open up on the same target afterwards. Maybe, oh shit, there's a ranged character and my teammate is really low, so I'm gonna blind him so we can maybe kite away. But it all comes at a trade-off, because then I don't have my ultimate that I can just use to burst the crap out of somebody and kill them. That's wonderful design, and we need more like that, I think. EX abilities are absolutely wonderful. They are amazing, and maybe having more EX abilities would help. I don't know if it's the right choice. Maybe something like summoner skills or medallions or something like that across the board, like so everybody can like choose different like 1 or 2 medallions or whatever, just like it was in DLC. Could maybe help. I don't know if it's the right choice, but those are things people need to think about, I believe, to get this game on the next level and give it more depth. But I don't even think we have to worry about that right now, currently. I think the one clear choice to really improve the game right now would be better battle rights. Because with the battle rights, you can change the flow of the game. You can change how you play. You can change your playstyle. You can adjust to your opponents. It makes the game more interesting. If you have actual choices and if you go for different battle rights every game possibly, and your teammates and the opponents do the same thing, games will evolve differently and it will be just more there will be more variety and it will be more fun. It will also just have so much more depth, and having better knowledge about the game will help you just win the game. It will help you so much. And it's not just that, it will also include mechanical skill, because right now with Croak, I can either go for my good old sustain build, where I just try to stay alive for as long as possible, where I have my toxin muck that I can throw continuously, and then when I jump on people I get some extra health, and that helps me so much just staying in the middle of the fight and continuously dealing damage. But alternatively, because of the new Croak changes, there's also this build that allows me to root enemies when I dash through them before I use that, if you don't use that talent, you use it most of the time to just dash away from enemies, but if you go for that, you actually want to dash through enemies, and it changes the playstyle of Grog a lot. You don't have as much sustain, you have to play a lot more aggressively, and while playing aggressively, you also have to just like sidestep a lot in between to stay alive, and just maybe use the root for your teammate to really catch up and deal some damage while you're just staying in there and mitigating some damage. And then if you go for trickery, and I disable my cooldowns here right now, and I just stun somebody and then dash through two targets, bam, you see 4-second cooldown reduction, and then I can like stealth again after a pretty short time. The playstyle is so different with that, and it's a pretty small change only. If we had more things like that on every character, and if those different choices were viable, people would really have a way better experience with the game, I believe. The game would have a lot more variety, and it would just fix so many issues. And then once we've done that, once they've maybe finished balancing stuff, and once there's really good variety with that, and people still have the feeling that the game does not have enough depth or mechanical skill or whatever, they can look into more things. But designing characters in a way that they're not self-sufficient anymore and that they have clear weaknesses, that doesn't work. I just really do not believe in that. I think that would break the game. It would be the end of this game, basically. It would be horrible. Unless they change it completely and make it into an actual MOBA, which is not gonna happen, right? And yeah, besides that, the game just needs more content. And I don't think Stunlock has let us down really so far. They have implemented 3 new heroes since release. They have implemented tons of cosmetics. They have implemented unranked mode that people wanted. Now they have their goals to work more on battle rights, which I think is just the right choice. They have the goal to rework the rating system / matchmaking system to just make it a lot better for everybody. And I think the game is gonna go places, man. The game is gonna do well. I am really confident about this game if they keep patching the game the way it is. Yes, it is worrying right now that the player base is going down, and yes, it brings its problems, and it makes it more difficult to enjoy this game. I've seen Newa and FinLev stream other games for the first time. I don't know if they've done it before, but I've seen them stream another game for the first time after they were done with Battlerite when I woke up earlier today. And I mean, yeah, that speaks for itself, kinda. Yes, people are getting burnt out a little bit, but there hasn't been a patch in a really long time. But I'm really not worried, man. I think this game is gonna do fine. And I'm really looking forward to the changes that Stunlock is going to implement. I think people just have to be a little bit more positive and a little bit more relaxed about things. I think we're going to get a patch soon, most likely, and then we'll see how the things develop from there, and then we can give them direct feedback on what the patch did and what they could have done better and whatnot. But please, guys, don't try to freaking redesign this game entirely, because that's what I've been reading so much. And let's not make this game into a MOBA or turn it back into BLC or make it into a fighting game or whatever. You can't really take over mechanics from different genres and copy paste them into this game. I think this game is in a pretty good spot. It has good core mechanics. It's just everything around it needs some more work. And I think Stunlock has mentioned that in their recent blog post as well, talking about how they've only been focusing on gameplay, 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 gameplay. And I think the gameplay is what's absolutely the best in this game. They need better Battlerite choices, better balancing, more champions, more game modes, possibly, maybe tournament mode, stuff like that. And I think the game has a very, very bright future ahead of it, especially when it hits free to play. That's it for me today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.